Well, fellow Toastmasters, my name is John Cameron. I'm the Program Quality Director for District 62. Love to welcome each and every one of you to the first in a series with David Carr for an educational event geared towards upscaling club websites using David Carr's WordPress. Couple of things about David Carr that you may or may not know. Distinguished Toastmaster David Carr is the operator of Toastmos.org club website. It is a hosting service that helps and supports our District 62 website. Even before establishing Toastmost, he had made his WordPress for Toastmasters International customizations for clubs and districts freely available as open source software since 2014. David is a writer and editor who works in the technology industry and taught himself web programming as a creative outlet. He is the author of RSVP Maker events and email marketing plugins for WordPress, which is used by businesses and nonprofits outside of Toastmasters. Starting with customizations for his home club, he began developing extensions to RSVP Maker to allow to manage Toastmasters agendas. And we use it also for several clubs in the district. And without further ado, I give the floor to David Carr. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, John. And I'm very grateful for the district providing me as much support as it has. That's been very cool. So here's what I'm going to go over today is, why WordPress? Why is it something that is valuable and important, or at least worth considering for use for club websites? And particularly the background. I'm going to give you a tour of the WordPress editor, just sort of the core system for creating content. I mean, this is one of the main things that you're trying to latch on to by moving away from Free Toast Toast, because Free Toast Toast is kind of its own peculiar thing. And if you learn to use Free Toast Toast, if you become the world's best, most proficient user of Free Toast Toast, you have learned something that is only useful in a Toastmasters context. Whereas if you've learned WordPress, you have something that you can apply to your small business. When you become, a tremendously famous keynote speaker, it is something that you can use to set up your own website, to post to your own blog, to publicize the heck out of yourself. So we're going to go through some of the basics of how you create content and make it look good, and some formatting tricks. Some of the stuff has gotten much better in the past few years. And then the stuff that I've added is largely about trying to make you more productive as a club leader. So when I started on this adventure, I was a vice president of education. I wasn't the VP of PR. I wasn't necessarily the person who was supposed to be worrying about marketing things. But our club was struggling a little bit in terms of membership, and we wanted to have an open house. We wanted to be able to have a really dynamic page that we could send people to, so that we could do outreach by email and social media and all sorts of other means, but that we'd have some place to bring them where they could find out all about the club, and they could also engage with the club, sign up to attend a meeting as a guest. That's some of the main functionality that we make a lot of use of. I'm going to take you through how to create a Toastmos.org site from scratch. We'll go through that, and then we'll come back to your questions as well. So, but I wanted to first start out just by showing a few basics about WordPress and why it is worth considering. First of all, this is the Toastmos.org website. This is sort of my home base. This is where I'm asking you to come. If you want to create one of these websites, you essentially come in here, you fill out a form. I'm already logged in here, so it's not prompting me for my email address and stuff, but if you're new to the site, you'll have to establish an account. But essentially, it's put in the name of your club, put in your district, put in your meeting schedule, assuming you have a fairly regular meeting schedule, and then pick from one of these sample designs. And there are a couple of newer designs that are actually a lot more flexible. So, and that's some of the stuff that I'm going to be showing you tonight. If you take advantage of either of these 2023 themes, 2023 or 2023 blue, those will give you some additional options for customizing your site. And it's not that you necessarily have to feel like you need to take advantage of every bell and whistle. In fact, going overboard and using every possible special effect and every available font is generally not a great idea. Can make things a lot messier. But you want to know what your options are. And I just wanted to bring up a couple of other sites that are based on this system. Here's the district website for District 62. Some of you are somewhat familiar with that. Now, I don't actually actively manage this on a day-to-day basis. Anna, who's on the call, does that, and some other people support that site. But that's part of the point, is that I'm enabling them to be productive with it, is the theory. But also, this is a WordPress website. 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 Not the Disney website that you'd go to buy tickets to the park, but their investor and PR site. So, over the years, it was created originally as Blogger for software for bloggers. And so it's good at anything that has sort of a news format to it. And your club has news too that you can put up on your blog. But we also have extensions that allow it to handle events. This is the Online Presenters Toastmasters site. This is, one of my pride and joy websites that I work on personally, with some video and a bunch of different workshops that we've done laid out here. So lots of things where we're trying to make it clear to you what a great club this is, why you should join. And then once you decide that you should join, you can fill out an RSVP now form, very similar to the one that you filled out to attend this event. I'm going to show you a bunch of things on this demo site. This is first part of the program is going to be focused on the basics of working with the WordPress editor and how to create more exciting and dynamic content with it. But this is just a demo site. We have some content that's laid out in columns, and that's something that I'll want to show you how to do, because that can be handy as a way of organizing something. And we have something here with a video. And I could go into the editor here and show you, oh, that's not what we want to see. We don't want to see the code. But this is essentially a WordPress-based, this is essentially a web-based word processor, desktop publishing tool, design tool, all bundled into one, that allows you to go through and add content and format that content. And let's see, I had that blown up a little bit. So I'll go through exactly how some of this stuff was set up. But maybe even before that, I should go through how you would create a new page or post from scratch. So I can log in and go to what's called the WordPress dashboard. This is sort of the behind the scenes part of the site that you get access to. And if you are the administrator of the site, or you are one of the editors of the site, you can go in and add a new page or a new blog post, which is more of a newsy item, or a new event. And all the agendas are laid out as events, but you can have other things. You can have a special workshop that you're hosting where you would use the same techniques I'm going to show you here for formatting that event. You can use for formatting an event, formatting a page, formatting a post. So let's suppose we're going to create a new blog post. And I'm going to use the example of a press release that we put on my home club's website recently when we were advertising that we were going to have a special workshop coming up. So I have something over here in Google Docs, and I'm just going to copy that text right in here. And so it gives me the same headline that I had here. It gives me my paragraphs. And when you're organizing text for the web, one of the reasons you might want to vary things and not just have paragraph after paragraph is that if you, for example, enter a heading, that gives the search engines as well as the readers a clue as to how this article is structured. What's the most important thing? The headline up top. And then we have heading levels. So this is heading level 2. Automatically, it defaults to heading 2 if I'm adding something in the body of the post, because heading 1 is going to be the main title. And let's see. So this is a section that talks about the club meeting in a hybrid format. We can put that in here. There's a section here where we talk about this guest speaker we were having in was a Toastmaster who had given a district level contest speech. So I'm going to grab her video and add it in here. And if it's up on YouTube, I can just grab this link right here. And I can do Control-C for copy, the Command-C for those of you who are on a Mac. And when I paste this in here, WordPress is smart enough to include the player code for that. So this is one of the advantages is that this has been built up over the years, not only to be able to be its own thing, to create great content for the web, but it taps into other social media, ties into other social media. So embedding a video, if the same thing would work with a Vimeo video or several other formats. It's possible to embed a tweet in one of these things by using that format. So this has actually automatically added a special content block for YouTube. Now, if you see on the right here, and maybe I should enlarge this a little bit to make it easier to see. Let's see if I can get this. Do it this way. So over in the right-hand sidebar, whenever you have a specific piece of content selected, in WordPress terminology, they talk about blocks, so content blocks. When I have the paragraph content block selected, it shows me options for the paragraph. When I have the heading shown, it's options for the heading or options for the YouTube video. If I want to add anything other than plain text, I have these options over here to add a block. So that'll appear at the end of any blank line, this little plus button that says add a block, or I can, let's see, I can do this here, and it'll give me a little shortcut to, for example, add an image. So I can upload something from my computer. And after I've uploaded it, again, I get options that are specific to an image. options for how that image is going to be aligned on the page. Also, I can switch between the original full-size version and a smaller one, or a little thumbnail. And there are, in addition, some styling options here. So I can say that I want this to be rounded off. Typically what you do is you'd make that, you can choose whether it should be the original aspect ratio or shape, or whether it should be square. So this is square, but I said over here to round it off. If I turn that off, we'll get it like that. So I'm trying to teach you the concepts. We're not necessarily, this is not necessarily the most gorgeous thing in the world. And let me zoom back out a little bit so that I can show you some other things. Also, I showed you a home page that had some content organized in columns. So one of the options I have also is I can choose the columns block, and it will ask me whether I want it to be 2 columns, whether I want it to be fat column on the right and skinny column on the left, or vice versa. So there are a few default layouts here, and we can make more modifications from there. And so I could say I want to add an image here, and this time I'm going to choose it from my media library, which is just stuff that was uploaded previously. So I can make that be an image that I insert, or I could, have some text over here where I describe my image. Now, one thing that actually does kind of get a little bit complicated when you start working with these layout blocks, so these are content blocks that contain other content blocks, is seeing what's going on. But there is an option in the upper left hand called the document outline view, or the document overview, that allows me to open this up and see that here I have an image and here I have several paragraphs that are embedded inside these 2 columns. And I actually could drag and drop from one to the next to move that into the right, or to move this text over to the left. So some of those techniques become more important if you get into one of these fancier, more recently minted WordPress themes that actually allow you to customize your whole site in this format. So now we have kind of a messy blog post. It is live on the site. But let's go back to the home page and look at how some of this stuff that I took a little bit more time to set up was formatted. So here again, I'm going to use the outline view to let us see what's going on. We have columns up top, and inside the first column, I have a headline, visit as a guest, and then I have this widget that displays the next several upcoming events. This is out of the RSVP Maker plugin for doing guest registrations. And then the right column has an image and a paragraph in it. Down here, we have 2 paragraphs, and we've styled them a little bit. And the way I do that is I can select the column itself, not the content inside the column. And if I go into the right-hand sidebar, there are actually a couple of different settings available. All right, close this and make this a little bit bigger. So on the right-hand sidebar, I have some basic settings, and then I have these styling options. And for this one, I could set the text color or the background color for everything within that column. But what I've done instead is I've gone and added a border. And we and click here to select that border. We could change the width of the border. And this particular theme is set up to have Toastmasters approved brand colors programmed into it. So this is, what is it? That's Loyal Blue, and this is True Magenta, and that's Happy Yellow. Anyway, so those of you who obsess over the brand manual will be familiar with some of these things. So, we try and it's not that you can't knock this out of compliance, but we've tried to give you some helpful starting points so that it's more easy to make it compliant with the brand standard than not. And I showed you before how to add a video. Okay, one more thing that I wanted to show was this particular site is using a theme that not only allows me to edit the page, you probably can't see up top, but there's one link that says edit page, there's a different page link that says edit site. And this is going to allow me to actually edit the design of the site. Now, only an administrator would have access to this. You wouldn't want somebody who is just allowed to edit the blog to be able to get in here and change the whole format of your website. But if I look in here at this organizer view, I can see that my content is organized in a couple of rows. Rows are similar to columns as a layout device. It's just that they basically a row tries to distribute everything that you put inside it evenly, rather than you specifying a certain number of rows. So actually, if I delete the logo, we'll see that they spread out so that one is way over to the left and one is way over to the right. There's a bunch of other formatting options here. But the only point that I want to make here, that I don't have time to go into this in great detail. We're talking about doing a subsequent webinar, so maybe we'll go into more of how you would actually set up, how you would actually go about customizing your website design. I exited out of that without saving it so that I didn't mess this up permanently. So we will, I promise, make time for questions. I haven't been watching what's going on in the chat. Somebody posted a link to the brand manual. Can you change from one theme to another? Yes. So if I wanted to change the theme of this website, if I'm in, again, I have to be an administrator. I go up top. Well, here I'm on the Toastmasters website, but it would work the same on your club website. You go to themes, and you'll see the available options laid out here, and you can click to activate any one of these that's been made available for your site. So I wanted to take you through the process of how we would go about creating a new website. So I am skipping the step where you have to confirm your email address and establish your account. I already have an account here, but we'll just make this the September 20th club. And it tries to give me a suggestion of what a website address for that might be, september20th.com. So this will be an address that is an extension of toastmasters.org. So it'd be september20th.toastmasters.org. It is also possible for you to register your own domain and associate it with this site. That's just another step for another day. But it tries to give me a suggestion. If I try and put in something that's already taken, it's going to say that that's not available. but we can do SEP20 as the club website address. Make it District 62, 123. Ideally, we would put in something about where it meets, or we could say that it's going to be an online only club. And I think the best clubs meet every week. So let's make this an every Thursday. Well, actually, we'll make it every Wednesday at 7, since that's where we are. And we will stick with the default theme here and click submit. And this is the point where I hold my breath, and I hope that the demo will actually work smoothly. So it should come back. It says it's adding meeting templates, it's setting up the defaults, it's adding a guest registration form, and it's emailing these instructions. And so if I check my email, I should see all this stuff down here about here's the login page. If it's a new account, there's be some information about setting up your password. And so one of the things it says is to follow the link to the club website wizard. So I'm going to go in here, and we should see the front page of a very generic site at this point. And it may be taking longer to load just because it is brand new and some stuff still getting set up in the background. Or that's my excuse at any rate. Actually, maybe this is a moment to pause for a question. I'll come back to this. Let's see. Hi, Karen.
I did put a comment in the chat, which could be considered a question. Our club meets at 2 different times. I couldn't find a way to specify that when signing up.
Was it like, is it alternate weeks or what?
Alternate meetings, yes. Noon and 5 p.m. alternating.
Okay. So basically what you would do is you would create a couple of different meeting templates. So if you picked one to start with, you can use that, but I'll show you how you go through setting up your template and customizing from there. So we'll go through
Great.
some of that.
Thank you.
David, this is Jeanette from District 48. Is this
Sure.
something that districts could use, or is it just mainly for a club to use? I mean,
District 62 is actually hosted on top of Toastmasters. Now I do charge club districts a little bit more money on the theory that they might have a little bit more money.
right.
And people are occasionally give me a hard time about charging any money at all. I mean, how dare you do that? I did go through a couple of rounds with the Toastmasters international lawyers at one point, where they were concerned that I was, co-opting the brand or something. And essentially we worked it out where I just put some more disclaimers on the website, and they were reasonably happy. So I'm not, this is not a money-making exercise, but I'm not independently wealthy, and there are some expenses that go along with running the whole thing.
Sure.
So, and the price I charge per year, you could not get pretty much anywhere else. I'm going to go back into my demo site here. So there's a message on the home page right now that says, "Hello, webmaster. To get started, please visit the club website setup wizard." And the idea there, if you ever used like a TurboTax, they try and take you through, here's how you gather together the information for your tax return. They're trying to simplify the process. So it's the same sort of thing here. I'm just trying to get you to make some basic decisions up front, and then you can work from there. So, so here's here's a series of questions. How much time do you allow at the beginning of the meeting for introductions? How much time do you allow for the Toastmaster of the day to introduce things? What other supporting roles do you have? Well, these are some that we have in my club. You might not have, or you might you might have a humorist, but that person is called the joke master. There are many different variations between clubs. How many speakers and evaluators do you have at a typical meeting? Again, I'm trying to generalize from how most clubs work, but let's say you have 3 speakers and 3 evaluators. We do table topics. We do it before we introduce the speakers, and we allow 10 minutes for that, or maybe that's not enough. So let's make that 15. At any rate, you're going to go through here and go through all these prompts. Do you want to have that guest registration form on the home page or not? These are choices you can make along the way. Do you want to show the time zone for your events? Well, if you're doing any kind of online or hybrid thing, you want people to be able to figure out what time zone you're in and how close it is to their time zone. So those things are handy features to have turned on. And we're going to say that these are our choices for now anyways. And so it has set up a bunch of these events. And then there is an option to add some additional user accounts. So you can do that up front. There's also a way of getting the spreadsheet from Club Central. If you download that spreadsheet, it comes down as what's called a .csv file. You can import that in here, and accounts will be created for all your members. You just maybe want to give them a little bit of warning first that they're going to get this email saying, here's how you sign up for the website. You can tell them, well, we're just experimenting with this at this point, but check it out and see if you like it. But you might want to at least invite in a couple of other people who can help you get things organized or help you test things. There are also some fictitious test users that you can add to your account if that would be handy. So I'm going to say next, and then it comes back with some instructions on some jumping off points. You can go to edit your homepage, and then you can start doing what I was going over with you earlier in terms of putting content on your homepage. I advise people to get a little bit away from just a picture of a bunch of people standing side by side, smiling stiffly and holding up certificates. If you can have some pictures of people in action, using dramatic body language, maybe have some video on the homepage, I think that makes things a little bit more dramatic. But it says, maybe one of the things I want to do is go and look at the role sign up page that we have so far. Okay, so this is what we have as of now for our next meeting, which would be September 27th. Nobody signed up for anything yet, but I can go ahead and make myself Toastmaster of the day. I'll be odd counter too. But that's probably about as many roles as I want to do myself. And so then I can go over here. Well, let's see, this is going to work so well because I haven't invited anybody else into this club yet. But here is where you could assign a role to another person. There are also some placeholder statuses like ask the VP of Education. Maybe we don't have time for that activity, that speech or whatever next week. So those are sort of quick and easy ways of marking something unavailable for a given week. So this went through a redesign fairly recently, but the idea is we have an edit screen, we have a sign up screen for signing yourself up for things, and then we have this suggest mode. Well, here the idea is that we're going to suggest a role for a specific person. Well, I can only collaborate with myself at the moment. But if we had some more history, let's see. Let me show you on the Online Presenters website for a little bit more realistic example. We can see if somebody has already taken a role. We can also see when they last did this particular role, the last time this person was Toastmaster of the day, in this case. I came out with a variation of this the other day where you can send out suggestions for all your open roles in one shot. There's a video of that up on the website, so maybe I shouldn't take time to go through that now. But there's sign up, suggest, then there's evaluation where you can choose the speaker, choose their project, or if it's somebody who is already on the agenda, it will pull in the details. Now, this is assuming that people have taken the time to put in their path, their project, their title, but it'll pull all of that in, and then it'll give me a digital evaluation form that I can fill out. And partly this is because I'm annoyed by emailing PDFs back and forth as the way of trying to do interactive Toastmasters. All right, so we have that. But then probably the most important thing I should go through with you is this mode where we're organizing our agenda. Now, actually, this whole agenda, I could also go into the editor, and these are all represented as WordPress blocks. And so these blocks can all be clicked on. These are blocks for the different roles. But I've gotten a little bit away from teaching people to work with it this way, partly because folks get confused, because you could add a role, but you could also add all these other things, headings and images and stuff that's not so much relevant to a Toastmasters agenda. So more and more I've been trying to get people trained up to use this organize mode. So we actually have two options here. It tells me that I'm making edits to the specific event right now. So any changes that I make here would only apply to September 25th. If what I want to do instead is modify my setup for all my upcoming meetings, I can go into this mode here of editing the template. So now we're lost in time. It says we're back in 1924, but it also just says that's because this is a template. This is not an actual meeting date. But if I go through here, and here's where my Sergeant of Arms is introduced. If I want to add another role, if I want to add a contest master, I can put that in here. And when this is entered, okay, we're not editing the signups for this. We're just organizing this. This wouldn't make sense for a contest master, but for speakers, we have multiple occurrences of the speaker role. So we can have 3 speakers or whatever, and we can allocate a certain amount of time that person should be given on the agenda when they're first introduced. There are other ways of organizing time based on notes on your agenda. So here I've just added the contest master. I could also add a custom role. So we have a role called the puzzler, who is somebody who teases us with a riddle. And we have one puzzler, and that person gets 5 minutes on the agenda. And if you notice, if I change the amount of time, right now it says this activity goes from 7:45 to 7:50, and we can see the next one starts at 7:50. If I change the amount of time here, we'll actually see that going up. So when I change that to 10 minutes, now we see 7:55. We see the next roll would be introduced at 7:55 and go to 7:57. And also down at the bottom here, we say that based on the planning assumptions I've just made, our meeting will be over at 9:10. So maybe that's too long. So you can play with all these parameters, and if I'm doing this to the template, well, one of the process I need to go through is to copy this information that I've just added to my template to all the other meetings. And there's a link here that says create update. So I can check all, or I can check just a couple of these. We can see that this club is right now meeting on New Year's Day. Maybe that's something we'll need to go in and change. So there is some warning here, and it would tell me if the event had already been customized independently of the template. But if I just want to update them all as a batch, what I'm doing, I liken the idea of a template to the template is the cookie cutter. You don't eat the cookie cutter, but you use it to stamp out lots of wonderful cookies. So that's what I'm doing here is and the bad thing here is I got confused, and I'm doing this on my online presenter site instead of doing it on my my demo site. But if we go out and look at this, I'll have to make this right after the call. We see the contest master here. We see the puzzler, these custom roles that we added, and we see the times that are associated with those activities. Let me go back to my demo club and try and do more damage over there. See, one other thing I don't think I showed you yet was you can also add a note to the agenda. So an agenda note would tend to be something that was the same from week to week, such as at this point in the meeting, we have a 5-minute break. I'll add that to the agenda, and I will say that the 5-minute break takes 5 minutes. And so now that's been added to the agenda. In addition, there's something that I call an editable note. And I typically use that for something like the theme or the word of the day. And so this can be theme and word of the day. And we'll update that. And let's see, let me put this. Put this near the top. And so then let's go back and view this. So we'll see it right here, and underneath it says edit. So through this edit mode, I can say our theme is talk like a pirate. And our word of the day is whatever. So that is actually meant to be something that somebody who does not necessarily have elevated security rights, they don't have the right to edit the whole structure of the agenda, but they're the Toastmaster of the day, and the Toastmaster of the day in our club sets the theme. And if we want to change that again, we would just click edit, and we can go back to that. All right. Let's see. I think this might be a good time to pause again and ask for questions.
And we do have quite a bit in chat, David.
Okay. Thanks for keeping track because
I-
I was busy. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think right before we went back to it, Mary Ellen, I think I saw you raise your hand, and I don't know if he got your question or not.
Oh, I wanted to ask if, I forgot, there was so many things I wanted to ask. So Toastmasters, we can host with you. Yes?
Well, yes, your club website is currently hosted with me.
Okay. Wasn't quite sure if it was hosted with you or not. Okay, great. And then, yes, okay.
And I just, I mean, there's a bigger web host behind the scenes, right? That actually manages the servers and all that. But I'm sort of your intermediary with them. And I do that, by the way, I do some consulting for businesses as well, where, for example, a friend of mine runs a nonprofit investigative news website. And he's a great journalist. He is not real technical. And so whenever he tried to deal directly with his web host, he didn't understand their answers to his questions anyways. So it didn't really help him very much. And so I've been sort of that intermediary with him, translating stuff into English. I occasionally speak English.
So then you do take on clients other than Toastmasters.
Yeah, I have a day job too, working for a company called SimilarWeb, but I've been trying to build up some commercial stuff around the RSVP Maker plugin, which is the event registration piece, and also the email marketing piece that the district uses.
Do you offer them support, people that want to host with you?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know because I'm around a lot of people. Now, opttoastmos.org is your home, your club website, right?
Yeah, op.toastmos.org is online presenters.
And when do you meet?
That's Monday nights. We have a meet and greet starting at 7:15, and the meetings really start at 7:45.
Thank you.
So, and that has people from all over the world. We have our president is from Australia this year.
Is that Eastern time zone?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, 7. That was Eastern time zone, correct.
Well, you know what I noticed that, and I guess it's the daylight savings time is gone. So we're into just Eastern Central Time now, and on the agendas it's saying daylight time.
It'll change. We haven't had the time change yet. It's still Eastern Daylight Time.
It'll automatically do it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have it turned on to show time zones, it will calculate that. And there actually is something too where if the website is able to detect that the person who's visiting is from a different time zone, it will show them in both times. It'll show in your time, but it'll show in their local time as well.
Well,
That is really cool.
yes.
Yeah, it's actually a JavaScript feature that I was able to get to work. So,
Thank you.
Good questions. I've got a quick question, David, about importing CSV files for officer lists. Can we just use the one from Toastmasters website, or do you have to format that before?
No,
putting it in?
it's set up to work with the one from Club Central. So you go to that screen that shows the roster, and there's an option to download it as a CSV. And if you upload that into the system, it'll come back and it'll prompt you to make sure that the data was imported correctly, but you just confirm, and it'll send out email to all the people whose email addresses are in there. So so everybody will get a message saying you've been added to this website. Here's how you set your password, basically. And the idea is they're off from there.
Kara's got some
Kara,
questions, I think.
yes.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. One, if someone asks about past meetings and we have agendas out there, I don't see a way where we can go and look at past meeting agenda information in the dashboard. If I go into Toastmaster administration,
Okay,
I don't see the agenda information.
let me show you a couple of things about that.
Okay.
One is we can go to the calendar,
Okay.
and through the calendar we can go back in time.
Okay.
And so let's see. So you should be able to go in here and get it to display and all
Okay.
that stuff.
Okay.
Now, also, one of the things I tried to do is, because the system is gathering information about you, anyways, about your activities in the club, there are also a bunch of reports in here.
Right.
So it's possible to go in. Everybody should be able to see their own progress report. And so I can, if I want to see all my old speeches, this should give me a listing of my speeches, going back several months. And if you remember more than one club and they both use this system, which is not true of too many people yet, but you'd see it for all your clubs.
Right.
And I've tried to come up with some things that are useful for pathways stuff too. The pathways is still somewhat of a mystery to me sometimes. Since I'm here, I'll mention this other thing that I was pretty proud of. Is I came up with this system where it will list out all the roles that have that are open currently, and there's way too many of them right now. And it automatically looks up people who don't currently have a role for the meeting, have not indicated that they will be absent at that meeting, but they have been active in the club relatively recently. And so it tries, first of all, to identify the Toastmaster of the day, the speakers, the evaluators, and it's going to send them out all an individual message asking them to click once to accept the role. And so I'm not going to do this live right now, but this is a log of when it was sent out previously. And so the idea here is that we're trying to make it easy for them to say yes. And even if they get the message when they're on their phone and they don't want to deal with entering their password, this is a no password method for them to either accept the role or to say that they will not attend. And if they want to sign up for something different, they can still log into the website and do it the other way. Ideally, we want people signing up for things weeks in advance, but we don't always live in an ideal world, or I don't anyways. Let's see. Also, I showed you the evaluations on the front end a moment ago. When people send me one of those digital evaluations, those are also archived here. So I did a practice session at Online Presenters of my intro to the WordPress editor and got an evaluation on that. And so I can go in and see that evaluation again, so that I can go back and hopefully absorb some of the wisdom there. I can also see the evaluations that I've given to other people through the system. So maybe somebody said that they lost track of it and they wish they had my notes. Well, I could send them off to them. So there is definitely a concept of trying to automate things that can be automated, so that there's a little bit less manual work for you to do, There are some things where you can, for example, automatically send out a reminder to people a few days before your meeting. So everybody gets a reminder to please sign up for a role if you haven't already, or if they have signed up for a role, they're reminded, you're going to speak on Friday. Are you ready? Hopefully that's not the clue to back out. That's their clue to get ready and to get in touch with the Toastmaster of the day. Jeanette, you have your hand up.
Yes, well, I put in chat, so for the full circle program, and as you say, the historical agendas are there. Is there a way to pull in a spreadsheet to say who filled what role for the full circle? Or
Yeah,
is it?
let's see. Let me share a screen again. And I don't think I've done this in a while, so let's see if it works. So progress reports. I think this is, oh no. There's two options in the upper right. Oh no, this is help. Let's see, wait a minute.
Or we can see who did what role when, whether it's for full circle or not, but
Okay.
and the date that they were that role.
Okay, I'm sorry. Here it is. It's labeled import, export a summary listing or so this is basically to export the user list, the member list, and this is
okay.
to export a summary of the roles. So let's
Okay.
try this and see what it looks like. So this is for online presenters. Yes, I want you to use Excel. And
There's nothing.
it's just showing, it's just showing.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
These are all the times my friend Jim has served as counter. That's quite a lot of times. How many times he's been the chat monitor. And there's more detail in here. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have this really on screen. So
so it couldn't pull like all the members showing what role they filled for like the July through December, because I know the full circle isn't like in the 6 month.
I don't know that it's necessarily yeah, I mean you basically you could dig that information out of here.
Okay, well, I'm sure we would already have it formatted in another separate spreadsheet, but
yeah, I mean I do have some different reports built in here that reports dashboard. So potentially it could be added to this list. There is also a way of tracking minutes through the system. There's a lot of stuff in here. Maybe there's too much because people get lost in the menus. But I am trying to focus you on the basics are you want to get in, you want a homepage that says something about your club and why it's so special and why people should join. And then try and make it easy for people to sign up. There is also a digital version of the Toastmasters application form that you can use. And again, it's because I find it very awkward when we're dealing with people online to have to email PDFs back and forth. And even in person, I mean, my handwriting is terrible. And if you're the VP of membership and you're trying to type in somebody's email address that they wrote in a shaky handwriting, you're not sure whether that's a 1 or an L, the odds of you getting their email wrong are probably fairly high. So if you can have them enter it into the system yourself and you just there's a way for the VP of membership to approve it through the system. Again, I don't think I have time to go through all the details of that now, but the idea too is that we're creating a digital document that's going to be archived through our website because you're supposed to keep these applications on file, and if it's a piece of paper, I'm going to lose it. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, those are just my feelings, but maybe it's not an issue for you. But yeah, I have many filing cabinets and very few things that are in the correct filing cabinet. But digitally, I'm very organized. Let's see.
You speak to my soul, David.
All right. Well, we probably should wrap it up more or less on time, but I think definitely one or two questions. I mean, I'm not in a hurry to go anywhere. If people and we can maybe stop the recording. I'll give you my big finish. Is basically you should try it if you haven't already. And if you do have one of these websites that you're working with, talk to me about how we can help you get the full value out of it. In addition to what I'm presenting tonight, there is a whole video course. There's like an 8-part video course on the WordPress for Toastmasters website. And I'll send out that link along with the recording of this meeting afterward. But I think the video recording allows me to make fewer mistakes or to edit out my mistakes, but the live meeting allows you to answer your questions, and I hope that's been valuable. Can we take one or two more questions? Robin.
I'm wondering where I can go to get an example agenda that's produced from that RSVP tool you showed us.
Sure. I mean, when you sign up for a Toastmost.org site and you go through that little setup wizard, and if you go through the process of setting up the sign-up sheet, the sign-up sheet and the printable agenda are just basically two personalities of the same thing.
Okay, yeah, I'm just looking for something visual because I'd like to present this to my club tomorrow morning to kind of get them familiar with it and gauge how interested they are in pursuing it. And so I just wondered if there was something I could show them to say, hey, here's what it would look like.
I can send, well, let's see. I mean, I guess one thing to do is if you go to the demo.toastmost.org, there's a whole demo website there that is built out, and a password that you can use to experiment with signing up for roles is on the front page.
Great, thank you so much.
Ralph C. Smedley and something else. So you can experiment with it that way. I can also send out some resources after we get off this call, and I will in terms of some visuals. So
that's great. Thank you so much.
I'll do my best to arm you with information.
Could you repeat that demo website URL again?
It's just demo.toastmost.org. I can put it in the chat, certainly.
Okay.
I do have one final question. It's quick, David.
Sure.
We have a history of our club's history, and I do have links for it because we have it in our Google Drive. And so I do have links. And so I'm wondering if it would be better for me to put it in our members area to put that history for our club history now that we have a Toastmos site, because we want to have our club's history in one area. So I do have it in individual folders on Google Drive. So I have the links because we need a link to get it on WordPress. So I don't know if it would be better to upload a whole folder, or would it be better to do the individual documents and links and then do an architecture for the years a specific way?
Well, I'm working with Founders District right now, which obviously has a lot of history to
Yeah.
convey. And we set up a section of the website, or just a page of the website that is the history page. Maybe what you're talking about is more involved in terms of lots of different documents. But if you can come up with some kind of a summary, it certainly could just be a regular web page on the website. You can upload other documents into the system. I mean, I guess in general, I would. I think it's a good idea to try and centralize as much as you can, so that you're not having to deal with, 5 different web services and some stuff's over here, some stuff's over there. If you can kind of bring it together under one roof, I think that's a good thing. It might not be practical. I mean, if you had if you have like 20 PDF formatted newsletters, you certainly could upload them into the site. I mean, I showed how to upload an image. There's also a file block. So
Right.
instead of an image block, you can add a file block, and you can upload a PDF or other documents.
I know how to do that. I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way for architecture wise. But now that you told me about the Founders District, I'll maybe do it like that. Do they have it accessible where you can view it now?
It's actually on a development site right now, so it's not fully public.
Okay.
John, did you have a question, or?
Yeah, I think there's 2 big can of worms that I'm now interested in. Is one, website transition planning, which is basically transferring all your assets that Tara brought up. But I'm also kind of interested because we talked a little bit about embedding video. We talked about embedding images and so forth. What's the functionality for streaming right now?
I don't think there's really functionality for streaming built into WordPress per se. There probably is a plugin or something out there that I don't know about, because I don't know if I've really explained that along the way, but part of the richness of the WordPress tech ecosystem is that there are all these free plugins, as well as some paid upgrade versions of plugins that add additional functionality to a WordPress site. And so that's how I'm able to get in and add agenda functionality. But there are thousands of these things. The quality is all over the map, from very professional to produced by hackers, and is going to cause you all sorts of problems. So you need to be a little bit careful too. And what I have on Toastmasters is sort of a curated collection of plugins that I think are dependable. But streaming, I guess I would think of streaming as more something that you can do, and then capture the recording of that and put it up as a video. And you also certainly could promote the fact that you'll be doing a stream at a certain time. But if there's streaming functionality for WordPress, I'm not aware of it. I definitely don't know everything.
Fair enough. Well, sir, I think we're at time. I don't see any more questions right now, and I think we got a lot out of it.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I hope we do get invited back. We were talking about a date for next month, possibly the 25th. Is that the
October 25th? We'll do a little bit more diving into it.
Okay.
We'll start promoting it.
Yeah, no,
and
double check
we do have
that date's available, but if it is, and we can talk about whether maybe that session could go a little bit deeper into certain topics. But okay, great.
Absolutely.
Well,
Thank
thanks
you.
everybody for attending.
Thank you, David.
Thanks.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you, David.
Cheers.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Good night.